Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? 11:01, and you are riding inside The Lock Shop. Dusty with you. Hustle be by shortly, and we will get you set for another week, another day of sports betting. Light night in the National Hockey League. Lots to discuss coming out of the National Hockey League last night. We'll certainly go there. Aaron Rodgers is now in his window to return. They've activated him. He's got 21 days of work before he can get back, so we'll get into that a little bit. If you want to chime in anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or, of course, you can hit us up in the Nasty Chat here on YouTube as well, and we'll get to that. Just 3 games tonight in the National Hockey League, but Hero World Challenge is on the go, and if you are new to the Lock Shop here in the Edmonton Sports Talk era, you may not be familiar with it, but Huss and I heavily invest time in golf betting. So we'll get to that as we work our way through the golf season. Just 3 games on tap in the National Hockey League tonight. We'll certainly set these up. Habs and Blue Jackets, Red Wings and Rangers, the Capitals and the Los Angeles Kings. We will get into that. We had our EST parlay taken off the board yesterday because Zach Hyman was a late scratch in that game, so you would have had your funds recouped there. And I hit a nice little I hit a nice little money liner last night. Pretty basic. I'm a pretty, I don't go too crazy, but I do like mixing in 2 gamers, 3 gamers with favorites in the National Hockey League. And it paid, I think it was just even money. Just even money, I think. Right around even money, but it was just a Canucks Oilers money line parlay, and ended up cashing that last night. So the account is nice heading into another NFL weekend. Sobe Kirk is in and says, "Howdy! After the Hyman news and the EST parlay pushed, I played a nice little bet builder with a 97 goal, Dry 3 and Kane 3 shots and an Oil win. Boys, do you know why we cannot add NHL point totals on bet builders?" That's the stupid heart is blocking. You're saying point totals on or over. It's a word that starts with an O.
I think on the bet builder. When you go in the cool bet builder, I know you go on it. And you could do goals. You could do like shots. I think sometimes, but you don't often see the points in there.
Yeah, that's a good question actually. For now, I think one of the reasons and what they have told me before is that like in a bet builder, because you can get assists and you can get goals. Let's see here. Which player will score? Players, let me just double check here. I'm looking at player goals. It's tough because with the way that their bet builder is like built in the back end, and we'll have to ask the boys this when they're on a little bit earlier on, but the way that the calculating of the number on a bet builder is different because the goals and assists and the points would all be tied to. I don't have the exact answer, but Pat has explained this to us in the past, I guess, is what I'm saying. And that's why you might not see it in some other places as well. But we'll have Pat or Jake on tomorrow. Maybe somebody remind me tomorrow in the Lock Shop, and we can certainly hit that one. If you do like anything tonight in the world of sports, like I said, light night in the NHL, the association tonight. What do we got? Decent slate in the NBA tonight, including my Los Angeles Lakers, minus 278 moneyline favorites against the Detroit Pistons. I do like the Lakers to win this game, but it's way too chalky at minus 278. The line was at 7. This is how much of a degen I am. I know that the line has moved in the Lakers-Pistons game by half a point since this morning. Ugh. Now, with that being said, we went to the book this morning. We were doing the Cool Bet Hotline of the day and the Mr. Lean and all that stuff. And it was 7. The Lakers were 7-point favorites this morning. It is now at 6.5 in that game. The Magic are 10-point favorites against the Wizards. The Raptors are 3-point home dogs against the Suns. The Grizz, 4.5-point home favorites against the Utah Jazz. The 76ers, fresh off that 44-point bare-butt spanking of the Lakers. They are 2-point favorites on the road against the Pelicans. Houston Rockets, 7-point dogs on the road against the Dank Nugs. Let's see, there might be a little parlay to be had here. Let's see. What do we do if we take Denver? Huss is going to pop in, and I'm going to be midway through building a 3-game NBA parlay, and he's just going to shake his head. But let's go. Let's see. Denver on the money line. Suns on the money line against the Raptors. Lakers money line. Look, some Nugs money line and Lakers money lines -117. Like that's alone. That's a number that I can. That's a number that I can kind of swallow. I'm going to get on that a little bit. Let's hop on that one tonight. Then I can be on my Lakers, and usually I'm cheering against the Dank Nugs, but if I put them on a parlay tonight, that would be, by the time Huss rolls in, I'm going to be like, hey, Huss, I already made 4 bets. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the show. All right, so we're already locking in Nuggets and Lakers money line and -117, and that's done. Also, huge shout out to CoolBet for dropping these bad boys on us. We got a bunch of new CoolBet swag. We got the new hats. We got these white hats. We got black hats. We got them for the whole team. YouTube Trev today was just like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. Like he was so excited to get his hands on this stuff. So that was nice to see. So huge thanks to everybody at CoolBet. We got a bunch of extra stuff for some of our other ESG crew like Gager and Glue Guy and Cass and everybody else who swings by. So we're in a good spot. Huss, you already missed. I already laid out an NBA parlay today. We're already cruising along.
I heard you sniffing in there. Yeah, apologies for the late start. We had a nice, a great conversation for Winnipeg Sports Talk with Murata Tesh of The Athletic. And we were just finishing it up and realized, well, the lock shop is already starting. It's a hectic schedule this morning here at WST.
Well, that's because the Bombers have so much going on, buddy. Hey, like the Bombers are just continuing to provide you with content. This is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's Jet season right now, and everyone is fired up about the team, although that was a tough loss last night, and it leads us into a big one tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
For 2 days, frankly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, from the sounds of it, well, first of all, Walters is back along with Gavaya and Danny Mac, so that's great as far as the brain trust of the teams moving forward. We still do expect that there's going to be plenty of off-season changes, though, with this team. And, of course, the big story right now is that Buck Pierce might be the new boss in Saskatchewan, which would be wild, him moving from Winnipeg to be the head guy of the Riders.
That would be quite something, especially with the season that the Riders had. It's not like now he would be going in with some weapons. Like their offense, their receivers this year had really nice seasons, and we got to look at the contract status. Marshall Ferguson did a great job grouping together all the free agents and threw that out. I saved that in my phone.
Who's not a free agent? I mean, that's probably a better way to.
Yeah, well, especially in like Calgary and the Hammer. Like tons. In fact, Edmonton is actually the team with the least free agents, and that's the team where you're like, man, I don't know if you want a lot of these guys under contract. So we'll see how that plays out. But is there any talk yet on who would fill in, who would step in to the shoes of Buck Pierce?
Well, there's one obvious name that immediately comes up to a lot of people here, Lapo. I mean,
geez,
he's been here.
Right. Man, Lapo's so good with us. I don't want to lose Lapo, but it makes sense.
I mean, his wife's from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I believe their kids were born here or at least raised here for part of it. And like he knows Osh, he knows Wade, he knows everybody here within the organization. So he's got a lot of history here. He
was with the 2019 championship team, right?
Yeah.
So
and he certainly has the
that would make sense.
He certainly has the resume.
He's a good dude too, man. Like
listen,
he would fit in well there. Like,
so I mean, that's obviously the name that everyone's familiar with. But to be honest, man, I mean, when you look at what the staff cap does to teams, especially very consistent, successful teams, guys deserve raises. Richie Hall deserves a raise. I mean, so it could be a case where they give a younger coach a big opportunity to come in and, go with the team that had been with the four straight Grey Cups, but maybe not with the experience that would get you that top dollar that, other OCs would make. I mean, they're really trying to thread a needle with this staff cap. It's not easy.
Yeah, they got to make some changes to that, and hopefully they will. at some point around the Canadian Football League. You did mention the Winnipeg Jets, obviously, big story right now here in Edmonton as well. And they do play tomorrow, so we'll get into that a little bit as we work our way through the show. As far as the next game, just 3 games tonight in the National Hockey League. We'll try to find some value there as well. But Huss, bring me up to speed on the Jets, and then I'll kind of dive into the Oil a little bit here. What happened last night?
Well, listen, last night was just one of those games that, it was going to move on. Dallas is such a stingy team, and the first period was an absolute slog. It was funny. Brendan Dillon was on the pregame show and said that, we've had this great start and we've been able to win a lot of games in different ways. We've been able to, run and gun with some of the younger teams and have our speed and skill take over. And now we need to be able to play. And this was his quote, against, more veteran, boring teams like Dallas. And that's pretty much what we got last night. I mean, it was a 0-0 stalemate. And then the game turned on two plays. The Jets earning 5-on-3 power plays twice in the game.
Oh, I saw you tweeting about this.
Nothing with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing with it. And Rick Bowness said afterwards, you have to score there. I mean, in a game that the minute Dallas gets up, they play in a different style. I mean, they were barely having one guy checked. They had no issue with not being in the offensive zone in the third period. And they kept the Jets to the perimeter for the most part. And that is when the Jets sort of struggle a little bit more when it came to it. They still brought it. It wasn't like they played a bad game. But the regret certainly on the Winnipeg side was on those 2 5-on-3 power plays. And listen, we know who's coming into town tomorrow night. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers, that's a team that will make you pay on their power play. And you better make the most of your opportunities. But I guarantee it'll be a much more entertaining game tomorrow night than what we saw last night in the 2-0 shutout. So listen, they had that nice long winning streak. They've lost a couple in a row. I think they'll play with a sense of urgency and desperation tomorrow. And we certainly know the Oilers could and should have that night in, night out because of their predicament. I did head over to Win afterwards and catch the end of that game.
Of course you did.
Bit of a white knuckle ride for the Oil in those last 5 minutes of the game. But, credit to them. They got 2 points. That's what they need right now, period.
It made for one of the – well, that's what I said all morning. So I was in on postgame show last night. Tommy had Bozone Live that he does here. So I did postgame last night. And I kind of thought I'd hop into postgame and, they had the win and it would be a little bit dull because, postgames after a win are not as good from a content standpoint as postgames after a loss. Well, I get in there. Before I even go on, I'm looking over in the nasty chat, and people are asking if Ryan McLeod would clear waivers, and they're just like Skinner cannot hold a lead. And so it was one of those perfect nights, the perfect storm where the Oilers let one slip away, which gave people a lot of angst. At the same time, they managed to get the 2 points, which is really what it's all about. I thought the first 13 minutes of the third period was one of their best periods of the season. Vegas had one shot in the first 13 minutes of that third period. You're like, man, the Oilers are actually protecting a 2-goal lead properly. And then Vegas gets a couple of opportunities and puts pucks in the back of the net. And then it's like, oh, man, giddy up. Here we go. Vegas basically played overtime in the exact way that the NHL doesn't want people to play overtime and why they're discussing some new rules. They got the puck. They kept it away from McDavid and Draisaitl until they went off. Then they tried to attack for a bit. McDavid and Draisaitl still ended up having a couple pretty good opportunities in overtime. But here's the reason. So the Oilers have won 3 in a row going in. They get one road game here in Winnipeg and then back home for 6. Connor McDavid has 12 points in his last 3 games. He's now tied for 9th in NHL scoring, just like that. Their power play is back to close to last year levels. They're 7 for their last 17. But maybe most surprisingly is their penalty kill has killed off 18 in a row, which we would never say about this Edmonton Oilers penalty kill. So special teams and the brilliant play of Connor McDavid have been the driving force in this. But I can still see why people were totally rattled by the fact that they did blow a 2-goal lead to a team that they faced in the playoffs last year and literally had a lead in every single game in that series against Vegas and still ended up losing it. So almost like some PTSD last night for Oilers fans.
I was feeling it for you guys. I mean, I was just sitting back, and I'll tell you what, the Winnipegger, Keegan Colasar,
how about that goal?
I mean, at a certain point, you can't really bitch about the goalies. You just have to tip your cap to an amazing play. He picked that thing with a perfect deflection out of the air about 8 inches off the ice into the net.
And it was zipping in there too. That wasn't something that was just floated in, right?
Oh, no. That was that. There was some heat on that one. But yeah, the overtime last night. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
We're watching this, and there's a minute left in OT, and the Oilers finally get the puck. And I said, like, I don't know whether they're just like a possession timer on these overtimes as to who has the puck when. But I'm going to estimate that in the first 4 minutes of that overtime, the Oilers didn't have the puck for more than 20 seconds. And, you know, we were comparing who Vegas was throwing out against Edmonton. And obviously we then, there's 97 and 29. Well, I believe it was Wild Bill and Eichel were out for a thing. But the difference maker there, and you just see it, how important a big stud number one defenseman like Pietrangelo is compared to Evan Bouchard. And I know Bouchard has a lot of offensive talent.
Yeah.
But in the 3-on-3, I mean, you got to be able to win a battle. You got to be able to maintain possession.
Bouchard's lack of urgency in overtime, man, sucked last night.
You're exactly right. So, anyways, they got the 2 points. I mean, it certainly wasn't close in the shootout, and it was fun to watch, but it was probably about a 2 out of 10 on the overtime scale, as far as, you know, really being
the best scoring chance came on a 2-on-1 with 6 seconds left with McDavid and Bouchard, and that basically summarized. So let's just have this overtime conversation right now. Then, Huss, like, how do you combat that? Would you put a shot clock on in overtime? Like, that seems pretty drastic to all of a sudden insert a shot clock somewhere into the game of hockey. But, you know, that would stop Vegas from holding it for 90 seconds.
I don't think I'd be opposed to that, like a 30-second shot clock or something like that once you get possession. I mean, the other thing is just not allow teams to, like, once you cross the red line, you can't go back over. I don't mind that over the red line. Yeah, that's not bad. So it gives you a little bit of room to regroup and go from there. I also saw some people say you eliminate the blue line in overtime. Eliminate the blue line.
Yeah, so there's no offsides. I don't know how that changes. Like, that way,
it doesn't change the possession quandary.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Like, put it this way, whether there's a blue line or not a blue line, I still don't want 97 or 29 getting the puck.
Yeah.
And I'm more than willing to skate around and have those guys chase me for a minute and have to go off and then take my chances on the next matchup.
But once you're inside on the other side of the ice, you can't skate the puck or pass the puck back over your own red line, which means what it does is it tightens things up so the team can chase a bit and force the issue a little bit, right? So
exactly. I think you got a little bit more aggressive on a forecheck, and the other side of it is that the the teams wouldn't have the luxury of moving back. I mean, a big part of it is possession. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets in overtime this year have been starting Adam Lowry. Like, Adam Lowry's not a guy that you would think is a 3-on-3 demon. Although it's kind of funny, it has led to 2 overtime wins and goals on subsequent shifts. But Scott O'Neill was pretty clear. It's all about the faceoff. I mean, if you're going up, like, let's just say there's overtime tomorrow, and it's the Jets and Oilers, and you've got McDavid and Draisaitl out there.
Yep.
I almost guarantee you'll have Lowry out there, and they'll try and win the faceoff, and they'll do exactly what Vegas tried to do.
Yep.
Is just don't give them the puck and take your chances on the next shift, because you got a much better chance of winning. I mean, I don't know. I think that'll be a conversation that will probably have a bunch of thoughts and, potential solutions offered to it. But the bottom line is, it's in the regular season. This is as much as, like, I know people bitch about shootouts. 3-on-3 overtime is really gimmicky as well.
Yeah.
We're breaking a tie. We're giving fans some extra entertainment, which goes to the reason why every freaking game should be worth 3 points. And there's no way you should win a shootout that should be worth the same amount as beating a team 10-zip.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is where we are. And until they get that, the other thing, if you move to 3 points, I think the integrity of the final 5 minutes of the regulation time goes up. I mean, there was a game last week. The Jets were in Tampa. It was an awesome game for like 50 minutes. It was back and forth, one of the most exciting games.
And then what happened?
And we got past the second TV timeout in the third period. I said to the guys I'm watching with, guys, from here on in, the assignment is do not get scored on and make sure you at least get your 1 point. And the Jets did that, and then they won an OT, and everyone was happy. You won the game. But to me, I mean, that just the value of that should not be the same as beating a team in regulation. And of course, the NHL will say, well, you know what? It keeps everybody close up. It makes the standings closer. Well, you know what else it does? Makes it almost impossible to make up big chunks of ground on other teams. What would those divisional head-to-head matchups be like in the final 5 minutes of games late in the season when if you win in reg, you're getting 3 points and your other team's getting 0?
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be, there's so many benefits to it. It has been, that is the hill I've been dying on for the last 10 years talking about it in the NHL. Doesn't make any sense, but they kind of like this artificial parity when you look at the standings, and in reality, things are not as close as they appear when it comes to trying to make up big chunks of points.
Dustin Huss with you here on the Lock Shop. Light night in the National Hockey League. We will set up those 3 games for you, though. I see people in the nasty chat throwing around some shot props that people might want to hop on. Of course, if you're listening right now on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can hit us up and fire us a text, 780-218-9999. This text is in. This guy was actually in earlier today already. He texted me at 6:05 this morning, and he's texted back in again at 11:08, and he goes, Dusty, I need one of those white hats. Like, he really wants one of these white Cool Bet hats. So, you know what? We'll get some more of these hats shipped out here, and we'll hook up a few lock shoppers with them. That'll be good as well. Huss, National Hockey League, outside of the 2 teams that we follow closely in our markets, New Jersey, a great comeback to kind of get things going for the parlay yesterday. And then the Arizona Coyotes ruin it with the Tampa Bay Lightning. That was a little bit of a surprise game for me.
Oh, man, that was a double whammy for me because I rode with Tampa on the play of the day yesterday. I really liked that game. I thought they'd bounce back, but man, back-to-back losses for Tampa. They sort of can't really get going in the right direction. But I thought they played well against Colorado and kind of figured they'd do that. But again, maybe it's a little bit of underestimating about what Arizona's doing. And then Vancouver came through. We got the plus money on the puck line.
Yeah, that worked out
as they beat it. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but it ain't winning the partner parlay. So we're back to the drawing board as we get ready for a big slate tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be one of the bigger days ever with the Lock Shop because there'll be a WST parlay. There'll be an EST parlay. We can put our allegiances aside and come together without those games on something else, like maybe a 3-gamer. And then, of course, had a pretty good streak of group bets on these primetime NFL games. And of course, we got the Seahawks and Cowboys tomorrow.
You know what I would like to try to do tomorrow? Because we'll have our EST parlay. You'll have your WST parlay. We need to come with like a Lock Shop United parlay where we find some player props on both sides of that game that we think can hit and cash that one too, Yeah.
What'll that be? That'll be like the Saskatchewan special.
Yeah, right smack dab in the middle.
Manitoba and Alberta.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Tonight you get the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus, of course, impressive win against Boston a couple of days ago. They're at home here against the Habs. Columbus minus 129 favorites at home against Montreal. The Rangers, big number here, minus 196 at home against the Detroit Red Wings. And then the Los Angeles Kings, minus 203 moneyline favorites against the Washington Capitals. Puck line in that game's at plus 127. And I actually made this my cool bet hotline of the day earlier today on the Nielsen Show. I took the total up to 6.5, and you can still get the under at minus 123. So that was my cool bet hotline of the day earlier today here at Edmonton Sports Talk. But Huss, not a lot to pick from tonight, but is there anything that jumps off the page for you from these 3 games?
Well, you know what I mean? I usually like to pick a straight up side when we're when doing the play of the day. And I think I'm going to go. It's not necessarily the marquee matchup, but it's the Habs and Blue Jackets. And Columbus had that miserable run. Everyone was getting benched. They lost 9 in a row. They've quietly come back with wins in 3 of their last 4. And Elvis Merzlikins, a big part of that. 3 real quality starts in a row. They've got the Montreal Canadiens coming into town. I mean, the Habs, for their part, lost to the Kings 4-0. They got wins on the road against the Sharks and the Ducks, but before that, lost 4 in a row. I'm still not sold at all on Montreal, and I kind of think that right now Columbus is feeling it. We always talk about the good vibes, that sort of speak to continuing to push forward. I mean, they've got so far to go as a team, but I feel good for Pascal Vincent and Elvis and Patrick Laine's back in there playing, that they're actually getting them some results. So I think this is a tough spot for Montreal to go in. They'll probably feel like they should win the game, although they are a slight underdog in it. But I'm going to ride with a home team. The one line that kind of stands out to me, Dusty, that I think I'm going to jump on, and I feel the same way the other day when I was talking about San Jose winning at home against the Caps.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking reversal tonight and Washington
really?
in LA.
Wow.
Like the Kings are not going to win every game. And, a team coming off an embarrassing loss like that is a dangerous one, I think. You look at these games that they've won 5 in a row right now. A 4-0 shutout at home against the Habs. Road wins against the Ducks and Coyotes. Home wins against the Blues. And a hard-fought one against the Panthers. I mean, before that game last night, the Washington Capitals had been running at a really good clip. Well, basically until they ran into the Oilers. Was that Friday? Black Friday?
That was Friday. That was a 5-0. That was a watch party, yeah.
So, I mean, they had run off wins against the Devils, Islanders, Golden Knights, Blue Jackets, and Sabres in a row, have lost 2. Considering the number at plus 171, and I know there'll be a lot of action on LA, I'm actually leaning on a small sprinkle on the underdogs tonight at plus 171 for the Capitals. But I think my play of the day is going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets. And listen, I do like the Rangers in this game, but I don't see a lot of value at minus 196. I mean, I guess if you wanted to jump on the puck line and hope for a 2-goal game at plus 132, you could do so.
Yeah, I don't like that either, though.
Hey, what do you think the Kane signing does to the guys in the Wings lineup right now? I mean, there's a lot of guys that'll probably be playing for their spot, or maybe go, great, I'm out of here. Like Lucas Raymond's been on that top line all year long. I'm not sure he's going to be there by the time 88 gets in.
I would think, I'd be very surprised if he is. I mean, when healthy, it'll be Dylan Larkin, DeBrincat, and Patty Kane there. If you look down the lineup, it's not like 9 guys going to be bumped out. It'll be 1 guy that's in and be bumped up. They're bumped out, and their third line right now is Daniel Sprong, or their fourth line right now, Daniel Sprong, Christian Fischer, and Klim Kostin. And I know Klim Kostin, at least according to Oilers fans who are trying to trade Ryan McLeod for him every single day here at Edmonton Sports Talk, he hasn't had a great start to the season. So that would be a guy. He's got 1 goal and 2 points in 16 games. So, if you're bumping a guy like that out to fit Kane in, if you can find a place where Raymond can be effective, and maybe that is on your second line if possible, then I don't know if it causes many issues. You could look at it from a morale perspective of, holy smokes, Steve Yzerman just went out and got Patrick Kane because he thinks we can make something of this group, So I think it could kind of go both ways. It's just a matter of knowing the build of the guys in that room, right?
Yeah, I like Raymond. I think he was 4th overall in 2020. 8 goals, 8 assists in 20 games right now, playing with those guys on that top line, and he has been quite good. He was a 23-goal scorer in his rookie season.
He's a good player.
Give them more depth.
He's a
and
good
more
player.
pop. There's no doubt about that. But I think it was Richard in chat saying, I'm going to look at that prop for shots for Raymond.
I bet both of the shot props that popped up already as a parlay. That's already locked in. I just did that while we were just talking about this. So it's Fiala over 2.5 shots on goal, and Raymond. It's minus 167, I think, for Raymond over 1.5 shots on goal. But if you parlay with the other one, you're going to get plus money on that. And the fact that you picked the Capitals in the game against the Kings makes me like the under 6.5 even more from my pick earlier in the day. Because if the Capitals are winning that game, Huss, they're not winning that game 5-3. Like, I'd be stunned. Caps don't win games that way. So if the Caps win this game, that's coming in at under 6.5 as well. So I like the fact that you were leaning that way.
Yeah. So and just on that note, I mean, for the fellas in the chat, Duck Dad and Richard Croft, love the contributions, guys. Plus 167 if you want to throw the over 1.5 shots on goal for Lucas Raymond and over 2.5 for Fiala into the mix. Do we have a shot prop that we like in this Columbus game? Let's see what.
Are you thinking three-way and boost it?
A three-way shot prop. Cole Caulfield 3.5 is over minus 133. Line A over 2.5 is minus 152. Wouldn't mind that. Let's see what old Pat's shot props have been over this last little bit. We got to get a game log for one.
I'm bringing up the game log right now for Patrick Laine. Here we go.
Right now.
I got it. It is. His last. Now this includes the scratch, right? His last 6 games: 0 shots, 2 shots, 2 shots, 2 shots, 0 shots, 5 shots in his last game. So he had 5 shots in that win over the Boston Bruins, but he hadn't topped that 2.5 in the last 5 prior to that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, he's been in an incredible slump. But once you see that 5 beside Laine,
you feel it's like a get it going type of thing?
For sure. I mean, he is a player that, and don't underestimate the fact that the team's actually had a few wins. Like, it's a lot easier to be a guy in his position trying to get it going if your team is winning, as opposed to when you're losing 9 in a row, you're getting benched, you're being singled out as one of the reasons that it's happening. I mean, in a previous era, a thought of line for shots in a game at 2.5 was crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you were to put that in with Fiala over 2.5 and Lucas Raymond over 1.5, it would come out to plus 343. And I feel like if we send that off to Jake or Pat or Evdog or whoever's watching right now, I bet you we can get that at 4-1.
Yeah, special Wednesday night shot prop.
A Wednesday night shot prop. Here we are, hey?
Teaming up with the chat. Lucas Raymond over 1.5, Fiala over 2.5, Line A over 2.5. Probably get that close to 4-1.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so Pat, Jake, let us know if you're watching and if you can throw that one up for us. Probably can get it up by the end of this episode. 3 games tonight there. Huss, are you any interest yet in the Hero World Challenge with Tiger Woods back on the prowl playing in this event? And I gave everybody a heads up before we hopped on. I said, for people who started following the Lock Shop since we sort of tied it all together with Edmonton Sports Talk, you might not be aware yet, but the Lock Shop loves to bet on golf. And we will be doing a lot of that, usually on Wednesdays, as we work our way through the new year.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because, as you well know, I mean, for us in the Lock Shop, we really sort of focus in on the golf post Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's a few events in January that we might throw a little sprinkle on. But this is a little different this week because Tiger is back playing at an event. And I'm just looking right now. I hadn't gone over this before. But we've got a bunch of Tiger specials for the Hero Championship. So
nice.
Let's see what people think about Eldrick. Tiger Woods, round 1 score. 71.5 is the number.
Ooh.
Over plus 110. Under minus 154.
Under 71 is minus 154? What?
Tiger Woods, round 1, birdies are better, 3.5. Over minus 154. Under plus 110.
Okay, what was that? Would you say 3.5?
3.5. Birds are better
in the first round.
Yeah. So over, they say he'll get 4 or more, minus 154. 3 or less is plus 110. His finishing position. This is a really short. How many people are even in this tournament?
It's a smaller field, isn't it? I'll bring up the whole field here. 2023 Hero World Challenge. We'll get because what's the number at for him?
The number, the finishing position is 16.5. But there's only 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only like 20 players.
There's only like 20 dudes. I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Well, listen, I mean, if they think that he's going to go under 71.5, that would be quite clearly a better finishing position than 16.5.
Yeah, those numbers don't jive, do they? That seems weird.
Not really. I mean, as much as I love Tiger, and it's almost sacrilegious, but over plus 110 on 72 or over in his first round back, I think is somewhat realistic to play. Tiger Woods bogey-free first round. Yes, 7-1. No, minus 2,000. And Tiger Woods to lead after any round, including ties. Yes, 12-1. No, minus 333.
How many rounds have we seen? Well, look, we haven't seen barely anything from Tiger anyway. But when was the last time we saw a round from Tiger when he dropped 4 birds on us? Like,
I mean, when's the last time we saw a round from Tiger?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Before we even talk about that. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time he's played since pulling out of, was it the Masters after the 3rd round?
Did he not play again since then? Have we not seen Tiger since April?
It was one of the majors.
Somebody will let us know in the nasty chat right now.
Here are the odds. Here are the odds for the tournament. And again, super short field. So a lot smaller numbers to win. But your guy, Big Dick Vic, 4-1, back-to-back champion of the Hero World Challenge. He's at 4-1. Scotty Scheffler's at 5-1. Morikawa plus 750. Homa 8-1. And then a big drop. JT 16. Interesting. It would be wild if he just came out looking like JT of old. Last year didn't even matter. Goes out and has a great round. A great tourney. Fitz is 18-1. 20-1 for Ricky Fowler and Cam Young. 22 for Burns, Wyndham Clark, and my guy Tony Finau, and Spieth. Keegan Bradley at 28. Rose and Sepp Straka at 30. Jay Day, Brian Harmon. The return of Will Zalatoris as well. And Zalatoris has played he hasn't played in even longer than Tiger.
Yeah.
Saw a really interesting press conference with him yesterday. And then Glover. And then Tiger Woods.
Tiger and Justin Thomas head-to-head in the first round over at Coolbet, by the way.
We've got some.
If you want to bet them head-to-head, it's Thomas versus JT versus Tiger.
We've got the group winners, too. Basically just taking the top odds guys. Vic, Scotty, Homa, Morikawa, and Thomas in one. Group C. But yeah, here are the tournament. Was that a round 1 tournament head-to-head?
Round 1, 18 holes. Yeah. 18 holes betting round 1. So round 1 head-to-head, Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, JT's minus 185, Tiger's plus 150.
Here's another tournament head-to-head. Tiger Woods, Lucas Glover. Lowest 2 guys on the odds board. Glover's 50-1, Tiger's 66. Tiger plus 130. I mean, I could handle a head-to-head bet on Tiger to beat the lowest other guy on the board.
Yeah, except Glover had some pretty nice events last year, right?
That was last year.
Yeah.
But
that's more than Tiger did last year, right?
He got hot for a little bit. Exactly. But I mean, if we're not I don't think we should put much recency bias into a tournament where nobody's played in months.
Yeah. And
all things being equal, you're going to give me plus money on an apparently healthy Tiger Woods against Lucas Glover?
Well, that's what some of these numbers look like, that odds makers know that, Tiger looks really good as of late. You know what I mean, Huss? I've wanted to see. When Tiger was dominating, I wasn't, huge Tiger guy. And for some reason, after everything he went through, I kind of became sympathy Tiger guy. And I just realized that you only get to witness greatness so many times, right? And if Tiger can find some sort of form health-wise and even be relevant in a couple of decent-sized events this year, that's just going to be so massive for golf, man. I would love to see that.
Let's just quickly check the chat. Anyone throwing anything on Dusty Pick is the field? Lock Shop Hero exclusive. Huss Pick and Dusty Pick versus the field. Put it together and Coolbet gets a donation from me. That's
so like
actually
our 2 picks versus the field?
Yeah. It would basically be a Lock Shop special. It would either be like
Vic or so-and-so
Vic
wins.
Hovland
Everybody else.
or Tony Finau to win the tournament.
That's kind of a fun game. We've never done that, but for a smaller event like this, that might be fun to take a crack at it. Like maybe we pick 2 guys each.
Well, the thing is, there's only 20 guys.
So we'd have 20% of the field.
Like, well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, put it this way: if Vic Hovland's already 4-1 to win the tournament. If you're adding another guy to that, we're basically talking about a pretty, like a pretty low number. But I think we could go in and look at, some of the guys midway through. I'm really intrigued about Thomas. Like, part of me thinks that he's going to come out and just have a monster January, like early part of the season. But I mean, yeah, like if we went with say we went with Hovland at 4-1, anyone else we add on top of that is going to probably take it to 2-1 or plus 250, something like that. So it might be a little bit much. Max, I know you love Max Homa.
I do love Max Homa.
Max and Tony?
Our guys?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first time we're going to be betting golf this season. I mean, I'm good with whatever we can make work. Like whatever they'll want to put together. Like
I'm just doing the math in my head.
Max is at 8, right?
Yeah. So it'll be less than 8.
And Tony's at 22.
22-1. So I think we're probably going to get that. It's still like they might give us 6-1 on that.
So Max and Tony. But would they set it up so everybody else can bet the rest of the field here or what? Like, because that would be a pretty significant. I mean, you're not going to want to bet the field at that point. It's going to be like the numbers are going to be stupid. Like,
no, but it would basically be a lock shop. It would be a lock shop partner parlay. Basically, Max Homa or Tony Finau
win it
to win the Hero.
Well, let's put that together then. Let's do that.
Let's
Max Homa, Tony Finau, one of those 2 guys to win the Hero World Challenge. And we'll figure out what that number is.
We're gonna get we'll be getting the fellas on this right away.
Watch for that. We'll I'll fire them a couple of texts here right after we're done Lock Shop just to make sure.
How's that for a Wednesday? Just there's only 3 hockey games.
Good.
We got a big one tomorrow night that we're gonna have to plenty of prep tomorrow with some nice. And here's one thing for the Jets that we won't know. Like I always laugh and. Obviously what you guys have been going through in Edmonton earlier in the season, there was just so much upheaval, guys playing with different guys every game. The Jets had not switched lines pretty much since game 3 of the season when Velarde got hurt.
Really?
That's
so amazing to us here in Edmonton, man. Like that just blows my mind. Like,
well, and the thing is, so Velarde potentially is going to come back on Thursday.
Okay.
And then yesterday when Dallas was just sort of squeezing the Jets and there wasn't a lot going on, Bones shook things up for the first time and actually put Nikolai Ehlers onto the line with Scheifele and Connor. I would think that we probably see Velarde go back there and Ehlers playing with Perfetti as well. But when we are putting together just from a Jet side of a standpoint as to who's going to be playing with who and maybe some correlated point or shot or goal props, may have to wait till that morning skate tomorrow to get a bit better an idea of what Bones had going on. Although they are practicing this afternoon, so maybe we'll have a little bit more intel for tomorrow. But I will tell you, we should have a banging show tomorrow, coming from both sides of the Lock Shop rivalry.
It should be good. I like that. Hey, one on the NFL because we'll get into NFL tomorrow too. But you see, Aaron Rodgers has been activated into the 21-day window. 79 days after tearing his Achilles. I think people were kind of targeting this Christmas Eve game for the New York Jets. I think it was on McAfee. They talked about, if it's meaningful for the Jets, you might see Aaron Rodgers again this year. This does seem ridiculous recovery rate, does it not? Like, that just makes no sense to me.
Well, it's all that ayahuasca or whatever that he's been.
Well, he was listening to the Dolphins having the sex too, right? That was early in the recovery.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he reconnected with his old girlfriend, Blue of Earth, for some special natural healing methods. Thank God he didn't get the vaccine. There's no way he'd be back. Sorry, no vaccine jokes.
No, not here. Not here. Yeah. Yeah. That's the last thing we need.
You know what? Listen, it's incredible. And I was thinking about this, like, why in the world would they do this? This makes no sense. But in a way, maybe it does. Like, if Rodgers can just get on the field and play a couple games at the end of the season with some of his teammates, I would suggest that puts them in a much better situation for off-season programs to really hit the ground running next year. Because, listen, this season is lost for them. Although it's not out of the question for a team to make the playoffs in the AFC at 9-8. But who do they have for the rest of the way here? They got the Falcons. They got the Texans, both at home, at the Dolphins, home to the Commanders, at the Browns, at the Patriots. Tell you what, if Rodgers was their quarterback right now and he's healthy, they'd probably be a favorite in 5 of these 6 games.
Yeah, you're right. It's true.
So I'm not sure, but he's cleared to practice. I mean, if he can practice, why not play him?
Well, yeah, he said he's been cleared for full football activity. So we'll see how this plays out, man.
He's not going to play this week.
No.
Man, I think they thought maybe that Christmas Eve game, play the last 3 games. Like, to me, it's that game in Miami against the Dolphins. They have no shot if they don't have Rodgers.
He's going to win comeback player of the year in a season which he left with a torn Achilles.
Fuck. Don't say that. Don't say it. I still got that 20-1 Tua future. It's looking pretty good right now. I know everyone thinks it'll be DeMar Hamlin just because, obviously, of what happened to him last year, and that was what the odds were last year. That's why we talked. I got to tell you, I was looking at the futures from our spots. Cincy to miss the playoffs, Baltimore to win the division, Miami to win the division, Pittsburgh to make the playoffs, and then the Tua comeback player of the year, 20-1. I am still fully believing that this McCaffrey 70-1 MVP bet is very much in the mix. Like, if he goes for 2 or 3 touchdowns against the Eagles on the weekend, and is the guy for San Francisco in this matchup, all of a sudden he is right there. And none of the quarterbacks have really been so good.
There's not a runaway quarterback MVP favorite right now, man.
If there was ever a year for a non-quarterback to win, I would suggest this is the year. So gonna be fun heading down the stretch. But now let's get these exclusives in, and then get ready for a big-time lock shop tomorrow as we get ready for Jets Oilers and the opening game of the week in the National Football
What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk here, man?
Well, we got a great long conversation with Murat Atesh of The Athletic. He has an awesome story right now on the burgeoning relationship between Mark Scheifele and Cole Perfetti. It goes all the way back to January of last year. So we'll talk about that as well as last night's game, thoughts on the Oilers matchup, a little bit of Bomber off-season talk with Teddy Wyman.
Nice.
And Danny Jilkin of the Moose is going to jump on as well. So should be a fun couple hours coming up in about 10 over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Check it out and give us a sub, just as you should give Dusty and the EST boys a sub.
Yeah, we are now at 6.02K. So we've made it to the 6,000 level, which is the
climb continues.
The climb continues. There's no stopping. There's no stopping now. Huss, we'll catch up to you tomorrow on the Lock Shop, buddy.
Take care, fellas.
All right, let's get into the Fantasy Football 5. All right, it is the Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino on Fort Road, the sports bar and lounge. No better place to watch the National Football League with Edmonton Sports Talk. Lieutenant Eric is there every Monday and Thursday night. If you have any fantasy football questions right now would be the time. You can slide into the Nasty Chat, or, of course, you can hit us up on the text line as well at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and we can get to a few of those as well. We were talking about it a little bit here on the Fantasy Football 5 earlier in the week in the 16-team league that Matty Iwanek and I are in. How do the tiebreakers work? Matty, did you read the commish comments on this? I'm going to actually just spend the Fantasy 5 today reading the tiebreakers in this league.
Except there's only one thing he didn't go through, I don't think.
What, he missed something?
Like, let's say... Because everything he had outside of taking the sissies out of this was you guys all being 6 and 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
What if, let's say, Handfuls loses to Titties, but
what a bunch of names, yeah.
But you beat the Stunners. You have the same record as Stunners. Do you get the tiebreaker?
I don't know.
That's where that's the only thing I don't think he has in all those scenarios. But feel free to go through all those scenarios.
Think about this. This is what they call the fun stuff. Our commission loves these tiebreakers. If the Titty Hawks win and the Stunners both win and they finish tied at 7-6, both of those teams and the Sissies make the playoffs, meaning a handful and Nielsen's Annihilators are eliminated. In 5A, the division winner would be the Stunners based on the 5th tiebreaker. We're going to the 5th tiebreaker in this thing, which is the strength of victory, the .SOV. It's the combined record of all the teams you have beaten, eliminating the common opponents in this scenario. So the teams you've beaten, that you both beaten, they're eliminated from it. Titty is currently 15-1, and the Stunners are 20-16 with a 5-game lead, and the most ground that can be made up is 3 games. The Stunners would win the division. If the Sissies win and all the teams in the Kokanee division finish tied at 6-7, we need to first determine the division champion, and the following happens there. Let's see. My God, what a mess. On the 3rd tiebreaker, so we're going to the 3rd tiebreaker in this situation, record in common games, Handful and Nielsen advance with a 2-2 record versus the Bud division, the only common opponents. Titty and Stunners were 1-3. Now resetting to a 2-team tiebreaker. So we have to go through a 4-team tiebreaker first as the 3rd tiebreaker, then the other 2 slide in here and say now resetting to a 2-team tie. It's based on the 5th tiebreaker again. The division champion will be more than a handful. They currently have a 17-7 record, while Dusty is only 8-16 and can only gain 2 games. This means out of Dusty, Titty, and the Stunners, only one team advances, and that team is Nielsen's Annihilators. I don't even know what that means. I don't even understand how this works. So if Tanis wins the division and the rest of us are tied, I would get that tiebreaker.
If all 4 of you are 6 and 7,
yes,
you and Tanis move on.
My God, which is insane because I was 1-6 to start this league.
Yes, but that's where it's like I don't know what happens because every one of the things he wrote out was about you guys all being 6 and 7. I don't know what happens if one of you moves to 7 wins, one moves to 5, and 2 teams are at 6 wins. Who gets the tiebreaker? Based on all that, though, I feel like you get the tiebreaker against Stunners. So if you beat the Stunners, you should have the tiebreaker against them, I believe.
Oh, my God. I don't know how a commissioner does this. I don't know how you do this.
I don't know why he did it and just didn't wait till the end of the end of this week to figure it out.
He likes to do this.
I know, but it's...
But, in other leagues, and this is the only CBS league I'm in, but, in other leagues, you just watch how the standings pop up every week. Right?
Because it's not done via CBS.
What do you mean?
Because of how it's done. If you click playoff race right now, it'll say the race has to be set up by the commish. So it's not. It has to be. They've set rules up. They've set rules up in the past or something that don't work now with CBS or something like that.
Really?
Click playoff race.
I don't even see playoff race.
Go under standings and playoff race, and it'll say you can't see anything.
Oh, yeah, because in other leagues, you'll see projected finishes and stuff.
But they don't have that because this all comes from commish.
Huh. Wow. Anyway, it's I like seeing that there's still a path for me to make the playoffs.
Well, you win and you're in it, I think.
I don't think so.
Why wouldn't you be?
Well, I guess I would hold the tiebreaker against a team that I would beat.
Right. So if you're all 6 and 7, so if you and Tanis win, you're in.
But what if I just win and she loses? Would I still?
Well,
be in?
so but then that's the only time it's between you and Stunners. You guys would have the same record. Only one of you goes in, one's
then
out.
that comes down to
Because
the two-team tiebreaker
Ryan would be in, Boo Bradley would be in. It doesn't matter what happens with the sissies at the other side. I think that you can't catch them anyways.
Yeah. So your whole division is going to be in the playoffs. Basically.
Well, I think unless he loses, to me, and you guys,
I don't know.
Yeah, he needs to win to be in.
I wish Kixie would have just said, "Dusty, if you win, you're in."
Well, that's
like.
So there's more scenarios I think than that are played out there by Kamish.
Are any of you in leagues that are this complicated?
I would love for you to win though. They might bite me in the end because I might have to play you and I might get knocked out because of that. But I'd rather not Stunners make the playoffs. They're too good. And they're in a weird spot. They should be better than their record.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Duck Dad is in and says, looking forward to tomorrow's lock shop. It's going to be good. Need a Hail Mary combo this week. Love and Reed versus the Chiefs or Howell and Scary Terry versus the Dolphins. I think I like Howell and Scary Terry, to be honest with you. I don't see Love following up that performance against the Lions with something similar versus the Chiefs. I just don't. I'd probably go Howell and Scary Terry, but I don't like the situation either. T-Roy, who pops by for draft days, just texted in, and he has found 5 flats of the 6 o'clocker lager sitting at a Sobeys location. And I think each of those locations only got 5 flats, so they've got them all out on the floor. And he's going to buy a flat for sure. Yeah, he might even buy 2 flats. Hell, he might take the whole stack. And we'll see how that plays out. But if you are listening right now or you're watching and you want to join us tonight, we'll be at Alley Cat from 4 to 7 tonight for the official launch of the 6 o'clocker lager. All right, that is going to do it. We've got the oil stream coming up, and we will find out where people are at. Tommy's in the shot, washing his monitor right now. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, but it was just funny. You just saw your elbow like going crazy there. Oil Stream's going to be a good one today. They won, but did they win good enough? We'll get into that with myself and Tommy Gazzola. Remember, anytime you have any fantasy football questions, feel free to slide into my DMs. Just no nudes, okay? No nudes, just fantasy football questions. We appreciate it. Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by the great partners we have in the Sports Bar and Lounge at Century Casino. Oil Stream coming up here at EdmontonSportsTalk.com.